So you're thinking about moving to Houston, Texas. In this video, we're going to talk about what we wish we knew before moving to Houston. Stay around till the very end and we will give you the best kept secret about Houston that you do not want to miss. And we're going to get after it right now. If this is your first time on the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about Houston, the good, the bad, the yin and the yang, the pros and the cons, then subscribe below and touch the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know about the current market in Houston, Texas. My name is Joseph Diasana
and Kerry Josephson.
And welcome to our channel, Living Life in Houston, Texas. Both Kerry and I have a team, and we get calls and messages every day from people just like you, and you, and you, and you, looking for help on making your move smooth to Houston, Texas. So whether you are going to move in 10 days or 100 days, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, and we will be glad to help you out making your move smooth to Houston, Texas. Until then, have a good day, sunshine, and we will see you around the Bayou City. All right, so I moved to Houston over 20 years ago. It's kind of a long time. I came from the Northeast. I was in the tri-state area, New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut, and I moved down. And you?
Well, I am originally from Texas, but not from Houston. I moved to Houston about 20 years ago as well from Kentucky. So
oh, okay, great.
Kentucky at the time.
But your family's from Texas, so you're
That's right.
Fourth, fifth generation?
I think ninth.
Ninth generation.
Yes.
You know, back in the day, way back in the Daniel Boone?
Daniel Boone was my great uncle or something like that. Our family came to Texas with Stephen F. Austin.
All right. So we've got history right here.
Yeah.
All right. So you moved from the East Coast, really?
Yeah.
Tennessee.
Kentucky.
Kentucky, excuse me. And then I came from the Northeast. So we have a different view. And I grew up in the city. So I was outside of Newark, which is super congested. And similarly, not as quite as pronounced as it is up there, but similarly, things kind of all blend in terms of like the city and stuff like that. So what is one thing that you wish you knew moving down here?
One thing I wish I knew, and it's funny, our CPA, when I moved to Kentucky from Dallas, actually, drew this to my attention. When I went to take all my stuff for her to do my taxes the first year I was in Kentucky, she goes, "Oh my gosh, I made a mistake. You paid way too much on your property taxes. I'm going to get all this money back for you." I was like, no, check it out, because our property taxes are a little bit higher than the rest of the country.
Yeah, so the average property tax here is 2%. Some places a little lower, and it can go all the way up to 4%. On property tax, but have heart, it's okay because we don't have any state income tax. So according to what is that website that does the cost of living analysis, COLA or whatever, it kind of averages out when you go from state to state. So obviously there's some exceptions to that, but definitely keep that in mind. Property taxes for some people are shockingly high. What else? What is another one?
The other thing is, I don't care what part of the state you're from or what part of the country you're from, our humidity is higher than most.
Yeah.
I mean, the only place we compare to is probably Miami. So
that's
our
true.
humidity is, I mean, even when we would come down from Dallas or come in from San Antonio, you felt it the minute you got here, which makes it feel hotter. And it makes it feel colder. When it's cold,
it's freezing.
We don't really have cold weather, but it feels colder than most.
It is biting. I grew up in New Jersey, and they have those storms and things like that. And in Chicago, I went to school in Chicago, so we have the windy city of Chicago. We go into the minus degrees up there, but for whatever reason, the cold here is biting. Although what I do like is a more moderate winter. So I remember when I was training for the marathon, we would go work out. Here I am in shorts. It's December.
Sure.
And I'm calling my sister, "Hey, guess what's going on? I'm just running in shorts in December." So, you take the good with the bad. The humidity is good. It's great for the complexion. I'm actually 105. And so you can see my skin is really good.
Well, and it only freezes what? It only freezes 4 or 5 times each year.
If that. So there you go. One thing I didn't realize is you needed a car to get everywhere. So my story is when I first moved to Houston, this is my second career. I got a job in software doing Oracle, and it was downtown. So I stayed with my friend's parents, who happened to be a Chinese pastor and his wife. And I get there and they ask me, "So where's your office?" Oh, it's downtown. By the way, side note, we have two downtowns, kind of, or two major centers where there's a lot of big business. One's downtown, the other one's the Galleria, for another time. I said, well, I guess I'm just going to take the L train. What the equivalent in Chicago is, you get on a train and you just pay in there. There was none. No. There absolutely is nothing. And so fortunately, I lucked out. They had an extra car that they weren't using, and they let me borrow the car for 6 months until I made enough money to buy my own car and then move out and all that stuff. But you have to drive everywhere. Just be aware. Yes, we do have some walkable spaces. We have like Montrose in some places, Rice Village, Washington's another one. Definitely there's parts of the Woodlands, but on the whole, to really do anything, you have to have a personal car.
And we do have some light rail here. And one thing I noticed, we've recently moved, and I noticed about 4 or 5 blocks from us, we can actually get on the light rail.
We should.
And go to the rodeo.
We should try that.
Because we used to always go to another location and take light rail into the rodeo.
Yeah.
We can take it all the way from there.
Okay, that brings up, it's another thing that we wish we knew. So obviously when I moved here to Houston, I thought Texas. I didn't think Houston, I thought Texas. In Texas are cowboys, tumbleweeds, and covered wagons. That's the first thing that jumped into my mind. I did not know that it is a great city. In fact, most recently, I really could dub it like a world-class city. I mean, we've got a lot of good stuff in here. But the rodeo, they have the world's largest rodeo. It competes with, is it Calgary? Is the other one that's pretty large? We get like multiple countries that come. The city really celebrates it. They have like 100,000 volunteers that work.
No, it's
and everything is for the children. So what they do is they give the donations all go to scholarships for the 4-H. Is that right? Raise cattle and all that stuff, sheep and chickens. And, and they raise all that money and stuff like that. So wish I knew there was a rodeo. It's quite interesting. They have the trail ride, which starts 2 weeks or 3 weeks or maybe a month prior, doesn't it?
The trail ride starts a couple of weeks before rodeo, and that's what opens the rodeo. The trail riders make it in, and so they literally come in from outside the city
on horse,
horseback.
They try they simulate and recreate the trail ride into Houston. You know it's the rodeo season when you see them. Whole line of horses coming down the side of the freeway. I mean, it's just a sight to see. It's super fun.
And the whole point of the rodeo is literally to A, bring the city together, but B, to fund education. So every dollar earned either goes to those 4-H kids that have either raised an animal or it's scholarships. So it's both. It's not just for the folks that...
And everybody here is super happy. Like when you go to the rodeo, especially if you get tickets to the cook-off is 3 days prior to the actual rodeo starting, and it lasts for 3 weeks. And we have all kinds of different... We have a rodeo, and then we have concert at night with different singers, entertainment. They come in and they give a concert, and it's like crazy. We saw like Mary J. Blige and Pitbull. There's a whole bunch that we said I can't remember right now, but super fun.
You know, one of the things that you just have to be prepared for it, and that is hurricane season. When hurricane season starts, they let us know. They let us know what the projections are, all that good stuff. And you don't need to have a full-blown, plan and all this storage. But you do need water. You do need some food set aside. You do need to know that you're going to have to go without electricity for a certain amount of time. Newer construction homes, some of them can't open the windows. So,
we found that out.
You just need to know that, unless you're in a bedroom, a lot of those windows you're not able to open. So you need to have a plan of where you're going to go.
So Carrie's on the less conservative side. I tend to be more in the middle, and then we've got friends who are like preppers, right? They have 1 month's worth of water in their garage and all that stuff. And you have other people who just don't prep at all. And to be honest with you, he's right. When they make an announcement about, hey, the hurricane's coming, it is a slow moving thing. It may take about 4 to 5 days or 6 days, and they have to rate it based on the wind speed and the damage it'll bring. So usually wind speed, if it's a tropical storm, or upgrades or downgrades between a hurricane, and then they have categories, right? So, and all of that is wind speed from category 1 all the way up to category 5. The most recent thing, like Harvey, which most people, got really freaked out about when CNN was showing it, it seemed like Noah landed his ark. The reality is it only really impacted 5% of the properties here. So it's all part of life, right, Carrie?
And you get, like just said, about a 5-day notice. There are very few natural disasters that we know 5 days in advance that they're on their way. Guys, so this
sneaks up on you.
Yeah.
Okay, this is one I wish people knew. I'm glad somebody told me at the very beginning when I moved here that every road has two names. Every main road has two names. You wanna?
Yeah, so every road, most of the highway system in the United States is numbered. And so, our interstates are numbered, of course, but we refer to them, depending on where you're at, as a name. So you've got Highway 59, which was a highway. Now it's turning into portions of it are an interstate. So it's now called I-69. And it's also the East Tex Freeway because it goes to East Texas, and then it's got another name. I can't remember what it is. Southwest Freeway. Yeah, Southwest Freeway, because it's on the southwest side of town. So, yeah.
So when you explain to somebody, "Hey, I'm here on Southwest Freeway," immediately in our head we think, "Oh, they're in Sugar Land," or East Tex Freeway. They're up in Kingwood, right? So we know immediately where they are and things like that. And you'll get used to it, especially when you start giving directions to people. It's probably easier these days with all these mapping apps like Waze or something, and you can send them a little dot of where you're at. So probably that, which leads us to the other piece about the freeway is we have friends that do this sometimes. They hate the freeway. So you can ride the entire freeway next to the freeway. So in New Jersey, when we exit the Garden State Parkway, we literally are in a neighborhood. It's like 2 seconds and you're on a street in the neighborhood. Where in Houston, you literally can go on the side of I-10, the entire length of I-10, and just take what they call the feeder road or the frontage road. So if you have some people that are definitely afraid of driving on the freeway, you can definitely ride it all the way around. Take a lot longer, but that definitely is something that is kind of different. So,
and that's not a Texas thing. That's truly a Houston thing. You may have on the freeway 6 or 8 lanes across, and then have another 4 lanes of feeder road on either side. So when they start talking about how many lanes we've got, we're adding up everything across as if you were going to walk across the street. So food is awesome here because we've got such a high rate of diversity here. So we've got, I don't know how many different cultures represented, but it shows up in our food. So any kind of food you want, you just kind of dream it up and you'll be able to find it.
And it's what's interesting is there's that Michelin rating for you foodies, and there is an application process and you have to pay a bunch of money for a restaurant to be Michelin rated. And usually you do that because you want more clients to come specifically to your restaurant. In Houston, we've got such a loyalty around the food and the chef and this and that. Some restaurants don't even worry about that. They just know that they're going to attract that kind of people. We have several of them that have been all on those shows. We have Christine Ha for the Blind Goat. They have Blind Goat. Yep. We have James Shepard. I kept confused with the astronaut. And he's opened multiple restaurants and stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting. I think one of the things that kind of shocked me, and it shouldn't have shocked me because I was already thinking of Texas as cowboys, tumbleweeds, and covered wagons. Cowboy hats and guns are normal here. Right? Growing up in the city in Newark, New Jersey, guns were either police or you were in the hood, a gangbanger. Whereas here it's just part of kind of life.
There's a healthy respect for firearms.
Yeah.
And people have them. I mean, you should expect, just because she's 45 and has her kids in the car and everything else, you should not expect that she is unarmed.
Yep.
I mean, she may be just as armed as...
Yeah. Well, we're both part of business networking groups, and one morning I just decided, I wonder if these people are packing. So informally I went around the room and there was like 30 people at 7 a.m. in the morning. And informal interview, I found out that out of the 30, 20 had guns. The majority were women. And several foreigners. A guy from England had one. A guy from India had one that was in the group. Yeah. And I was just like, and why do you have them? It says, well, no, we have them just because we have them. I'm like, you have them on you? And they said, yeah, we have them on you. So anyways, it's just an interesting thing. And it's just part of a way of life. And we've been here for a long time and never ran into any concerns.
Yeah,
yep.
Not at all.
Not at all. It's just kind of,
There's a respect there.
Yeah.
For sure.
And okay, we have to talk about this. Roaches, right? Roaches. Yeah, they're a thing. They're a big thing here. I grew up thinking it was a sign of uncleanliness. And here it is a fact of life because those things fly. They're usually about like that big, and they're round and they're big, and they fly, and they can fly into your house. So
And it's a constant battle to keep them out of the house. So you consistently have an exterminator that will come and treat your property, because if you don't, you will start to see them.
Yeah. So it's kind of an expense, but Houston back in the day, we're marshland. We're just swampland. So we're now all developed and stuff like that. I mean, you love the city. The city is super amazing, and we just totally love it. One best kept secret about Houston that you need to know is everything is not as they seem. We have lots of really great restaurants, and you'll drive up to them and you think, are we at the right spot? Did we miss the restaurant? We don't see signage. The front is very nondescript.
Sure.
But when you go into that, it transports you into a different space. And we can tell you more about that later. All these kind of restaurants that are hidden in plain sight is what we call it, are super awesome. All right, stay around for part 2 of what we wish we knew before moving to Houston.